In the name of the incomparable God, I am Saadi, a high-flying Iranian poet, from one of the cities of Iran, where my beautiful poems are famous in the world. Let's go and see my story.
In the golden haze of a Persian sunrise, where the first light kissed the domes of Shiraz and the wind carried the scent of blooming roses, a child was born who would grow to become one of the most revered poets in human history. His name was Saadi. But he was not yet the voice of empires, the scribe of souls. He was merely a boy, born into a city of gardens, mystics, and dreams. The year was 1210, a time of turbulence and glory in the Islamic world. Shiraz, nestled in the heart of Persia, thrived as a cradle of culture and wisdom. It was a city of poets and scholars, of traders and travelers, where every whisper of the wind seemed to carry the rhythm of verses yet unwritten. Saadi's early life was not bathed in luxury. His father, a man of piety and modest means, passed away when Saadi was still a child. Yet the values he left behind, of humility, learning, and devotion, would etch themselves deeply into Saadi's soul. Raised by relatives, young Saadi turned to books for companionship. He found solace in words and in the silence between them. But the walls of Shiraz could not contain his hunger for knowledge. As a youth, Saadi journeyed to Baghdad, the intellectual capital of the Islamic world. There, at the famed Nizamiya University, he immersed himself in theology, law, literature, and philosophy. His teachers were masters, his peers ambitious. But while many studied for status or scholarship, Saadi studied to understand the heart of humanity. Then came the Mongol invasions. The world Saadi knew was cast into chaos. Cities were razed, families scattered, knowledge burned. But Saadi did not retreat into fear or anger. Instead he wandered. For 3 decades he traveled across the vast expanse of the Islamic world and beyond. Syria, Palestine, Arabia, Egypt, Iraq, Asia Minor, and even as far as India. He walked among beggars and kings, prisoners and preachers. He was captured by crusaders and made to labor until a ransom freed him. He taught in mosques and listened in markets. He lived not one life but many, and through it all he wrote. He chronicled the stories of the world not as a detached observer, but as a participant. He gathered tales like a gardener gathers flowers, each one different, fragrant, alive. In every land he saw reflections of the same hopes and fears, the same follies and wisdom. Upon his return to Shiraz, Saadi was no longer just a man. He was a vessel of centuries, a witness to civilizations. He retreated to a garden outside the city, where roses bloomed year-round and nightingales sang as if reading his soul. It was here that he composed his 2 great masterpieces, Bustan, the orchard, and Gulistan, the rose garden. Bustan was written in verse, a didactic poem exploring themes of justice, generosity, love, humility, and contentment. Gulistan was a mosaic of prose and poetry, filled with parables, personal anecdotes, and moral lessons. Its charm lay in its simplicity, its grace in its depth. In one story, Saadi writes of a poor man who asks a king for help. A man knocked on the door of a king, with nothing but rags and hope. The king, seeing only filth, dismissed him with a frown. But that night he dreamed of fire, and woke to smoke in his soul. Such was Saadi's gift, to capture the grand truths of existence in the smallest gestures. He did not preach, he invited. He did not command, he revealed. He believed that all people, regardless of their station or faith, were bound by a shared humanity. One of his most famous verses reads, "The sons of Adam are limbs of one another, created from the same essence. If one limb is afflicted with pain, the others cannot remain at ease." These lines are now inscribed at the entrance of the United Nations building in New York, a testament to Saadi's enduring message of unity. But Saadi was not only a sage. He had a wit as sharp as a scimitar, and a humor that softened even his harshest truths. In his writings he chides the arrogant, consoles the heartbroken, mocks the hypocrite and uplifts the weary. He tells of fools who mistake wealth for wisdom, kings who lose kingdoms chasing desire, and mystics who find the divine in a loaf of bread. He reminds us that life is fleeting but meaning is eternal. "I have roamed the world," he wrote, "seeking truths under every sky. But the purest wisdom I've found dwells in the heart that forgives, the hand that gives, and the soul that sings despite suffering." As he aged, Saadi became a living legend. Students flocked to him. Emperors sought his counsel. But he remained in his modest garden, teaching beneath the cypress trees, writing by lamplight, reciting verses to the wind. When he died, he left no palace, no heirloom, no kingdom. He left something greater, a voice that refused to be silenced by time. Today, nearly 8 centuries later, Saadi's words still resonate. In Tehran and Delhi, in Istanbul and Paris, in libraries and on lips, his stories are told anew. Not because they are ancient, but because they are eternal. In every injustice we hear his protest. In every act of kindness, his smile. In every rose that blooms despite the thorn, his spirit lives on. He was Saadi, poet, traveler, philosopher, gardener of the soul. And his rose garden never stopped blooming. But the tale does not end with the scent of roses and the rustle of old parchment. Saadi's legacy is a living one, reborn in every generation that reads his lines and finds themselves within them. Persian culture, shaped so deeply by Saadi's moral vision, still echoes his rhythm in everyday speech, proverbs, and customs. In a school in Tehran, children recite his verses with wide eyes and open hearts. In a village in Lebanon, elders quote his wisdom when mediating disputes. His stories leap across borders, translated into dozens of languages, studied in schools and universities around the globe. He was not a poet of the elite. He was a poet of the people. His pen bled not for vanity but for virtue. He believed that if one heart could be moved, if one life could be touched, then the ink was not wasted. His journey across lands was not merely geographical, it was spiritual. Each footstep was a prayer. Each conversation a lesson. He saw in every hardship a seed of beauty, in every injustice an opportunity to act. Even now, his garden in Shiraz stands as a sanctuary. Visitors from around the world walk among the flowers and stone paths, pause by the tiled walls inscribed with his verse, and feel a presence that transcends time. It is not merely a place, it is a soul made manifest. And as long as stories are told, as long as hearts seek light in darkness, the voice of Saadi will echo. For he was not just a poet. He was a mirror, a witness, a friend across centuries, and above all, a reminder that the beauty of humanity lies not in wealth, nor power, but in compassion. Saadi's rose garden still blooms, and so does the soul of the world.